Good evening, everybody. I want to thank you all for coming to the Mental Health 101, Managing Your Well-Being During the Holidays. We're having a little bit of um, a technology issue, so unfortunately the PowerPoint is going to look like this, but I will make sure to walk us all through it pretty quickly, and so we can talk about it. This is I know the year has gone by pretty fast, and we are at the holiday time. Who would have thunk it? I keep asking myself, how did it get to be November? Um, my name is Melissa Finch Carr. I'm a social worker with the City of Mesquite, and I am the Behavioral Health Program Manager for the Southeast Alliance Community Care Team. We are a team that is a 911 co-response team. We go out with police and fire within the cities of Mesquite, Balch Springs, Seagoville, and Sunnyvale. What we do is anytime there's a mental health or homeless calls in those four cities, we will go out to those calls with police and fire to help the citizens and get to figure out the root of their need and what's going on and what's the best way to help them without police, without public safety and things like that. So without further ado, I want to kind of go into what we're here for, which is managing everything during the holidays. The holidays are hard in general, right? A lot of things are going on. We have work stress, we have family stress, we have holiday stress on top of everything else that we have going on in our lives. So I wanted to kind of quickly go over some things, some tips, strategies, things that you can employ, you can use every day during this holiday season to kind of make your mental health and make sure that everything that you have going on doesn't stress you out. Okay. Let's talk. Why are the holidays stressful? Something that's supposed to bring joy and happiness, and according to TV and the movies, right? Everybody's smiling and laughing and having a good time. So, why are they stressful? What's going on? I think we have the obvious reasons. We have financial pressures. Whether it's Thanksgiving, where we're spending extra money to make the big meals to accommodate our family members, or if it's Christmas, where we're gift giving our friends and family, just this time of year can get much more expensive, right? Just the added finances of the end of the year and these holidays. Then we have what we've been talking about, our family expectations and obligations. Our families, if your family isn't one that gets together much in the throughout the year, and they get, sometimes those families get together a million times over the holiday season, or you'll be traveling. It's going to be crowded in airports and in freeways and malls and all the things, grocery stores, everything can get crowded. And then we have all this extra work. We have all these extra activities, all these extra events on top of our work life, on top of our family life. So those are just kind of some of the reasons that why are the holidays stressful? Why are we dreading this? I think as parents or as people who are part of large families, we tend to take on a lot of bigger stress, a lot of responsibility of making sure people are happy, make sure families are happy, our kids are happy, and it can just be really stressful and really hard on everybody. Okay. When we talk about holiday stress, I want to make sure for this particular PowerPoint and this training that we're talking about, things that are stress that's triggered throughout the holidays. Often we talk about loneliness, anxiety, burnout, things like that during the holiday season. And why does it matter? Why are we worried about all of these things? Stress is harmful to our physical bodies. Stress, anxiety, things like that, it can have effects on everybody. It has physical effects on it can daily. So we want to make sure that if the added stress during the holidays are an issue, that you have some tactics, you have some things to kind of combat those. And if for some reason you're unable to if it's still triggering in these strategies and tips I'm giving you don't work, later on in the PowerPoint, we're going to talk about some resources and some different things that you can do and I can give you to reach out to people to get the help that you need. Okay. first and foremost, we need to identify our stressors. We need to be real and honest with ourselves. We need to take a self-inventory. We need to sit down, and before this holiday season really kicks off, I encourage you to sit down, take this inventory of yourself, and say, what does stress me out during the holiday season? What is it? Is it anything at all? Is it a certain family event? Is it a gift buying? Is it shopping? You don't like the crowded malls? Is it, the traffic around your neighborhood? Is it lights bother you? Whatever it is, you need to sit down and have a real conversation with yourself, some self-talk, and figure out what are your stressors. Without any of those things, we won't be able, without knowing and really taking that self kind of awareness and thinking about that, none of the tips and strategies that I give you today will work, because you won't be able to identify what, where they go and what your needs are, what your most needs are. Okay. Above anything, you have to prioritize self-care. You have to. If you do not put your oxygen mask on first, you cannot help anybody else. Those of you who have flown that kind of get that get that cliche, that when you get onto a plane, the first thing that the airline attendant tell you is, if something happens, if the oxygen masks fall down, you have to put your oxygen mask on first. You don't put it on an elderly person. You don't put it on a child first. You put it on yourself first, because if you're getting oxygen, then you can help everybody. You can help not only the elderly, not only the children, you can help out the other adults who need help and things like that. That is the same concept in your everyday life. If you do not make time for yourself, if you do not prioritize rest and relaxation, if you don't practice some type of mediation or quiet time, you have some regular good sleep hygiene, good exercise habits, all of those things, and do things and prioritize your self-care that bring you joy, things that bring you joy, the whole holiday season will be a wash, because you're going to be pouring from an empty cup and you don't have anything left to give. So you really need to prioritize yourself, even in holiday season. In what we say, this is a giving season. This is a gift giving season. You're supposed to do for others. You cannot do for others until you do for yourself first. Okay. On top, to add to that, we need to set realistic expectations. Going back to having that inventory of yourself, of what your stressors are. Once you have identified that, and once let's set realistic expectations. Let's talk about your stressors in that boundary world, right? We need to just not think we have to be perfect. Perfect doesn't exist. Okay, quote unquote normal doesn't really exist anymore. Whatever you want your holiday to look like, go ahead and sketch that out. Think of that, right? Get a vision in your head of what that looks like. And it's okay that it's not perfect. There might, you might start late. You might not be able to afford the perfect gift, but there's other things that can happen, right? So we really need to set realistic expectations by focusing on the meaningful moments, limit your obligations. And later on in the presentation, we're going to talk about how to say no, right? And some phrases and things to say no. We need to politely decline how to do things, right? Politely decline and learning how to say no politely to people. It seems silly. We're all adults, right? We all should be able to know how to say no. But what we really do is we say a lot of yes at the expense of ourselves, because we think it's a little bit easier. You want to help and stuff like that. But again, going back, it doesn't help anybody, because you're pouring from an empty cup. Okay. Adding on to that, one of the big stressors around this time is financial stress, of course, right? All the extra money that's going out of the bank account during this time, right? Your salary staying the same. The money you are getting and is being input into the bank is the same every week, every month. But unfortunately, the money coming out during the holidays isn't as much. So we need to, back to that word realistic, we need to realistically come up with a plan. We need to budget. We need to plan ahead. After you take that self-inventory of what your stressors are, after you think about what your realistic expectations are, sit down another day, a week later, with your partner, family, friend, whoever, and think about, a budget. Sit down, get pen and paper, get a budget, stick to it. Figure out what you can afford. Figure out what you can spend. If you can't if you can't spend a lot of money, that's fine. People and adults really enjoy homemade gifts and do DIY gifts. They get excited that you've put that much time and effort into something. It doesn't have to be about the money. It doesn't have to be about the amount of dollars you spent on something. It's usually the effort and the kindness that goes into it. Okay. And I think, again, building upon all of the self-inventory, identifying your stressors, being realistic, this is another sit-down moment of sit down and kind of work out that budget and talk through it with, pen and paper. Look at some, I know online, and I can send you a link. There's some online holiday budgets that help you kind of, so if I start saving money today on, this Friday, if I want to have, $500 between now and Christmas, how much do I need to save every week? Break it down in littler chunks or smaller things and see if that's helpful. Managing family dynamics, right? The meat of why we're all here. How are we going to do family this year during the holidays? I know this week has been a highly contested election, right? I know that there's a lot of raw emotions involved with that. And then there's going to be people who don't think like you do, who didn't vote like you do, that you really sometimes, you don't spend all year any time with them all year. And then all of a sudden we're all family and it's Christmas, and it's the holiday season. We're here together, right? So what can we do to kind of bring that stress down, to manage our expectations and deal with that? We can set boundaries in advance, right? Building on the things that we talked about earlier, you can think, what are you willing to accept? What are you willing to do? What are you not willing to accept? And what are you not willing to do? Think those out and then determine how you're going to set boundaries around those parameters. Okay. You are absolutely allowed to limit your time around high stress, high maintenance family members. You don't need permission to limit and put boundaries, but I'm giving you the permission. You can have it. You have my permission. You have your coworkers, you have your partner's permission to set good boundaries and to limit your time. Okay. If that's what you need to do, if you need to communicate what your needs are and what your boundaries are, and do it. It's not a question, it's a statement. Like, if, for example, if, let's say, one of your parents, like your mom, is asking you, what time are you coming to the party Friday? And you are really not wanting to go to the party, but you're going to make an appearance. You tell them, I'm coming to the party. I need to leave early. I have another event. I can only stay for a short amount of time because I don't want to be overloaded or overstimulated. Whatever verbiage you want to say, make sure they understand that, and do not back down from that. If they say, well, that's if this, or, well, I really need you to do this. I need you to go run this errand before or after, or bring so and so home after, or something like that, and just say, unfortunately, I can't do that. I'm unable to do that. Or you can reiterate what your original comment is, I really have to leave by this time. And you don't have to say you're sorry. You don't have to get permission or approval from anybody. You say your statement and walk away. It seems like a novel thing to do, but people do it, and it can be done. And that's the end of the conversation, right? And to build upon that, recognizing that everyone has different stressors during the holidays. This holiday season is going to look a little bit different for a lot of families, given the election and given the heightened sense of emotions and rawness and stuff like that. But you also have to be welcoming and understanding that even though your stressor doesn't look like the next person's stressor, or what you've been working on internally is not what your family, they're saying that they're putting up boundaries in different ways, or they're creating different, they're limiting their time with you or your family or other things or other events. That's okay. You need to be able to respect that and let them and understand that everybody has different stressors, right? The biggest one when it comes to family, especially, is staying in the present. Enjoy the moment, enjoy where you're at, enjoy that event, enjoy that hour. Don't think about the old argument with you had with your cousin 10 years ago. Don't think about the family feud that's been going on between Uncle Bob and Uncle Tim. Like, that doesn't none of that stuff matters in that moment. You have to stay focused. You have to stay in the moment and enjoy the present. If you're at an event and it starts to go that way, there's old arguments, old fights, old conversations, remove yourself. Take a break, go to the restroom, walk outside. Don't feed into that cycle. It's only going to bring you down. Okay. Overcommitting. I think that's what the holidays, the real word for holidays instead of holidays should be overcommitment time. Overcommitting. I think we all try to go above and beyond. We try and do things. We want to be at every event. We want to have fun. We want to be supportive of our friends and family. It's just not realistic, right? So we need to prioritize the events. Figure out what events you do that bring you joy. Which are the ones that you're looking forward to? Which are the ones you're not looking forward to? Okay. Set a realistic schedule. You know what you have the energy for, mental energy, physical energy, time energy. You know, right? You've taken that self-stock, you got self-inventory, you kind of know what you're willing to do, what you're willing not to do. So let's make it a realistic schedule. Let's put it out there. Put it in, write it out. Let the family know. This day I'm unable to do this. This day I'm unable to do that. Okay. Or just have off days. Like you have PTO days from work, you're going to take FTO days, family time off days, right? You're not going to do anything the Saturday before the Saturday before Thanksgiving, the Saturday before Christmas. That's your time. That's your self-care time, or that's your immediate family time. Whatever you want it to be, it's okay to set that time away. Okay. As silly as it sounds, you have to practice saying no. Okay. You have to come up with some ideas. You have to come up with some confrontational ways to say no. And that might mean going in front of the mirror in your bathroom and practicing statements, right? I have a handout and I'll share, make sure everybody in that's coming today gets access to it. And it has a bunch of quotes that kind of help you with your boundaries, help you saying no politely. One of them, I'll give you an example. One of them is like, I really wish I could, but that day is my FTO day or your family time off day or something like that. Or I really wish I could, but unfortunately I have another event and stuff like that. There's ways to word things that are non-confrontational. Like I said, I'll share it with you, but you may want to practice it because your tone matters, your body language matters, things like that. And if that's something that you worry about, is somebody's going to be upset that you're not going to something, just practicing or using the right language can go a long way and can kind of take the stress out of you having to have that conversation. Okay. When you're planning out and setting your realistic schedule, one thing you want to avoid is doing last minute decision making, whether that's a last minute trip, a last minute event you're going to go to, a last minute gift, a last minute, running around errands and stuff like that. Take a minute, pause. And is this something that you really want to do? Is it something that your family really wants to take part of? And if it's not, it's okay to say no. And it's okay to just say, we're not making any changes, any last minute decisions or changes, because it just causes too much problems for the family. It's too hard on our family. Okay. And then again, politely declining the invites that overextend you. Okay, knowing what overextends you, what overcommits you, and then knowing how to decline that in a polite way. Okay. We get to kind of the things that I action items, things that tools and strategies that I give you to combat those and politely say no, to talk to family, to keep yourself grounded and stuff like that. And I do have handouts that I'll share by email about breathing and things like that. So one, again, stay present, stay in the moment. When you're trying to embrace mindfulness, when you're trying to do these things, you're trying to have joy in the holiday season, you're really trying to just make it a low stress event. Mindfulness will help. Okay. You want to stay positive. You want to focus on the positive aspects of the season. I know, like I said, we have a lot of raw emotions this week with the election and the political climate and all the and God forbid any other wars or anything like that. But you need to stay focused, stay on the positive. If you see your mind going, if you see your mind kind of wandering to the negative, change your environment. If you're in a negative space, take a hot shower, take a little walk, um, do something that changes your immediate environment so you can like kind of in that negative thought process, right? You've got to stop what's going on in your mind for a quick second. You got to reset. So what does that reset look like? Maybe you, like I said, take a walk, take a hot shower, play with your child, go outside, mow the grass, something that will just take your mind off of that negative kind of pattern thinking and take a break so you can put some more positive thinking into it. One thing that is super helpful for a lot of people is breathing techniques. It is super helpful when I prescribe it to clients or colleagues and stuff like that. But everybody tends to roll their eyes at the breathing and stuff like that. And they're like, oh, okay, we'll do it. But when I sit there and make them do it, when I sit there and teach them how to do it, and they do it for a few minutes, they do find it useful. So you can just it can be 5 to 10 minutes, something like that. It can be each morning. You get up, you're doing your routine, you take a few minutes, you're drinking your coffee, you're sitting at the table. There's no phone, there's no paper, there's no distraction, a child, a partner, there's no animal, there's nothing. It's you and what just sitting there, and you are breathing from inside, right? We call it belly breathing, the really deep down breathing. And there's also called box breathing. Okay. Box breathing I'll share. And it is, because we're having a little bit of a technical problem, I don't want to change my screen to box breathing, so I don't want to lose it, but I'm going to describe it. And of course I'll have a handout if you like. But what you can do is it's called the box breathing is the 4x4x4 method. If you think of a box and there's fours on each side, right? And then what you do is in the beginning, you will breathe out for 4 seconds, breathe in for 4 seconds, hold that breath for 4 seconds, and breathe it out over 4 seconds. Okay. So and I know you can't see me in this moment, but you will breathe in 1, 2, 3, 4, hold 1, 2, 3, 4, breathe it out 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold again, okay? And then take another breath and really try and get into that rhythm of it for at least a minute or two, okay? And the box breathing, about 1 to 3 minutes is really what you'll need to kind of bring down your nervous system to calm it a little bit and kind of let your mind just relax. And then you can just focus on deep breathing, okay? Another thing is remind yourself to take a pause. Remind yourself that you're doing great. Use your phone to get alerts to you or put in a positive calendar message to yourself. Write a sticky note on your mirror. If you have a dry erase board, you can do that on your mirror. Get your child, if you have kids in the home, get them involved in it. Those positive affirmation type things, have them write. What would you write, mom or dad, for a positive affirmation? Or your partner, what would you write about me? Or what do you see? If you're an anxious person, maybe your partner would write something like, be calm, or be calm and be still. You're doing great. Put that a sticky note on the bathroom. Some type of, positive. It could be a religious thing, a scripture, anything like that. Something that just brings you calm, something you can see, something that brings you joy throughout the day. Another thing I like to do during the holiday season, I like to prescribe for my clients, is gratitude, right? And mindful, positive, and stuff like that. At the end of each day, you could do it with your family, you could do it alone, whatever you prefer, is then each day mentally write down or physically write down 3 things that you're happy for. Just take stock real quick, right? Take a quick stock of what happened today that was so great. Why should I be so positive? And I think it's super helpful when you're already having a negative day or a hard day, and it forces you to kind of look and see what you're happy for. And that goes along with the holiday season of why are we all here, what's the positivity in this, and what's the gratitude and positive aspects. Okay. Something else, if you start to worry or you start to be anxious, there is like a visual therapists like to kind of introduce, which is, if you have the thought in your mind, visualize your thought or emotion or worry, you have it, practice releasing it, breathing it out, saying it out loud, and get it out of your body. Write it down. If it's a bad thought or something, you can write it on a piece of paper, crumble up that piece of paper, throw it in the trash, burn it in the fireplace. Those symbolic gestures really do help your psyche. They really do help kind of get those thoughts out of your head. Okay. When in mindfulness, one of the biggest things is to really feel the sensations around you. So if you're on a walk or sitting at your office, sitting at your house, if you need a few minutes of downtime, you can sit, stand, or anything like that, take a walk, and take stock of what's going on around you. What do you smell? What do you hear? Do you smell, fireplaces, in your neighborhood? What do you hear? Do you hear some light traffic? Do you hear, the sounds of kids laughing? What do you see? Do you see Christmas lights? Things like that. When you start to try and categorize it and you're having to take inventory of your senses, it get your mind, if your mind is racing or in a negative space, it makes it stop. It forces it to stop, and it makes it think about these other things, and it gives you time to pause and kind of change your attitude and change what's going on in your thought process. Okay. On to coping strategies. Everybody has coping strategies and mechanisms, right? And coping skills. We have unhealthy coping skills and we have healthy ones. So of course I want to focus on the healthy ones. We'll talk a little about the unhealthy ones we need to watch for, but let's really focus on staying healthy this holiday season and kind of getting these coping strategies in these events. Right? Always, always, always exercise. I'm the biggest hater of exercise and anything physical. I will do anything to couch rot all weekend, but I do know, and journal articles have shown, study after study after study, physical exercise is one of the biggest antidotes for depression and anxiety. As much as I like for that not to be true, and I could just be a lazy bum, I do have to get up. I do have to walk around and things like that. Journal articles from the 70s and 80s and 90s up until today, they all say the same thing. All the science has shown a 20-minute walk a day will help with depression symptoms. It is the one thing that stays true across scientific journal studies. So if it's the true of since the 60s or 70s, we have to give it the credit where credit's due. So I encourage you to walk, to exercise, to get those endorphins up, to 20 minutes a day of low impact walking in your neighborhood on a treadmill, something like that, to get your blood flowing, to get that positive endorphins and things like that. If you can do it outside, that's great. Vitamin D, the fresh air, that's even better. But definitely regular exercise and at least a 20-minute walk a day helps keep depression symptoms at bay. Okay. Sleep hygiene is very, very important. I'm sure everybody in this room knows how important sleep is. If your sleep hygiene is off for whatever reason, it impacts everything. It impacts mood, attitude, physical symptoms. The less you sleep, the more pain you feel, right? You can feel your aches and pains, headaches, and stuff like that. If you don't already have a good sleep hygiene routine, definitely do the research, look into them. There's some great apps, there's some great online activities. I can help you develop one if need be. I can get some handouts together if you'd like. And I can refer you out to some other agencies that could help you. But really focusing on sleep hygiene and developing a good sleep hygiene is super important. Okay. And that needs to be taken serious all, across not just holiday season, everyday life. Okay. Back to boundaries, right? A coping mechanism, a coping strategy is setting your own boundary, setting your boundary and being clear of what you want and what you can and cannot do, like we mentioned before, right? I think that that's super important, and being articulate and being able to communicate what your boundary is. Connect with people, connect with supportive people. You're going to be forced to be in some events. If you don't, if you don't set boundaries and you are going to events you don't want to go to, there's going to be people who aren't supportive. There's going to be people you don't want to be around. Connect with those supportive people. If that event, find the person, find your person, find the person you do like, find the person that you can be around for hours at a time. Find your your favorite family member and stick with them. Be comfortable, be happy. If you have to go to an event you're not wanting to, at least share it with the people you most like at the event, and don't stress yourself out about, spreading yourself too thin with too much time with everybody. Stay where you want to stay. Okay. Limiting screen time, I think, is super important right now. Social media, the everybody's perfect Christmas, every picture, every Instagram worthy picture, right? Everybody who's going on vacation is in the Bahamas during Christmas. You're like, oh man, I should have done that. You're comparing yourself to that. You're looking at the ones skiing for Christmas. You're looking at the ones who got their kids new cars or new computers or whatever. And that's not everyday life. That's what you have to remember. This is one day a year that maybe that other family saved up for, 2 years to go on that Bahamas vacation. Not just, wasn't a spur of the moment thing. You don't compare yourself to everybody else, because you will never be happy. You'll never be where you want to be if you compare yourself to other people and other families all the time. Okay. I do challenge everybody to limit screen time this holiday season. Just in general, there's some new journal articles, some new scientific studies that have come out from NIH and APHA that are showing that screen time is just as addictive as some drugs, some illegal drugs. If you take someone's phone, like if you take a teenager's phone away, they act out, they go crazy. It's like they're addicted to that phone. So overall, we're just encouraging the mental health community, social workers in general, are trying to encourage people to limit their screen time because of these studies that show how addictive it is and things like that. So I do challenge you to do that, and you and your family to do that this holiday season. Right. And at the end of the day, if none of these tips and strategies or mechanisms I'm talking to you about, if they don't work, if they're not working out and you need some extra help, you need extra support, that's okay. There's lots of professionals, and we'll get into some specific ones in a minute. There's lots of professionals that you can reach out to during this holiday season that would love to help you and guide you through this. When do we seek help? Okay, when do we need that professional help? When is it? Like, when is this too much? When you have persistent feelings of sadness, anxiety, or hopelessness. Okay, if that feeling is happening more than once a day, or every day of 7 days, one of seven, if it's happening every day for 1 week, 7 out of 7 days, okay, that is a concern. As a therapist, that is a concern, because hopelessness, anxiety, and things like that, they're like compounded interest. They just keep piling on and piling on, because we're not solving any of the problems. We're just adding more on as the day goes on. So if you're having 7 days of persistent sadness, anxiety, or hopelessness, then that might be a time that you need to reach out. Okay. If you're having dramatic changes in your eating or sleeping pattern, not while you're trying to if you're trying to get your sleep hygiene regulated, you're trying to do that and it's having some changes, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about if you have, you're having some insomnia this holiday season, or you're oversleeping, the patterns aren't adding up, you're not getting good restful sleep, or you feel, just overwhelmed all the time and tired, or you feel like you're never tired, that is a concern. You may need to talk to somebody. If your eating patterns are changing and you're just not eating enough, you don't have an appetite, sometimes that can also, be a symptom of depression. Loss of interest, right? You can't find joy in anything. Your normal activities aren't bringing you happiness or anything like that. That's a very good reason to seek help, to talk to somebody. If you're using unhealthy coping mechanisms, if you're if your alcohol intake is way more than it normally would, if you're overdoing the alcohol, if you're waking up hungover most days, those are things drinking is not all intent is not bad, but if you're using it to self-medicate because you can't deal with these other events that are going on, then that is a concern. Okay. If you are overeating because that makes you feel better, if you're cutting, if you're spending too much if you're spending too much time at happy hour, like I said, or drinking alone or anything like that, those are all signs that we need to maybe talk to somebody. Well, not maybe, excuse me. We do need to talk to somebody. We need to see if this is a problem that's situational because of the holiday season, or if this is something that's ongoing that we need to address. Okay. If you're experiencing intense or frequent mood swings, if you just feel like you can't get a hold of your feelings and emotions and you just can't figure out what to do next, it's okay. It's okay to ask somebody for help. That's what we're here for. Okay. And some of the resources, there's some of the resources to ask for help. I always say, you can, if you have insurance and you have your insurance card, you can flip it over. There's usually 1-800 number you can call for benefits. You can get a list of local therapists or counselors. Most agencies, most employers now have an EAP program. That's super helpful. You can reach out to that EAP program. And an EAP stands for an employee assistance program. And usually every employer or employment will differ, but usually that is you get free access to free access to therapists for 6 to 8 sessions. It kind of just depends with the contract that the employer has. But usually it's a free, usually they have this contract and it is for 6 to 8 sessions. It is free for employees and you can connect with a therapist. Okay. If you don't have access to those things, 988 is a 24/7 chat line that you can contact and they can give you some resources in your area. Locally here, we have North Texas Behavioral Health Authority, also known as NIPA. This is their 1-800 number. You can ask them for some services and ask who they recommend and what programs they have to pay for counseling. They do have. And then we do have our local Metro Care Services, which is a psychiatric clinic that offers psychiatric medications. They offer free counseling. They offer support groups and many different other programs. Okay. So if you ever have any questions or you need any specific information, please don't hesitate to reach out. Okay. And then I think that concludes everything. Are there any questions? Does anybody have any questions, concerns, or any specific events that they would like some information about? Yes, Tony. Oh, excuse me.
Hey, Melissa, thank you for the presentation. Great information, great tips. What would you recommend if you're witnessing a loved one or a partner who you're seeing that their mental health is degrading, and what tips and tricks would you give a person on how to approach that situation?
Okay, good, great question. Thank you. So whether it is holiday season or not, right, that could happen. If you are witnessing a friend or loved one, family member, if you're really concerned, depending on your rapport with them, if you feel comfortable, I would just go straight to them. I would go straight to them and I would ask them, what's going on? How can I help you? What do you need to feel better? If they decline, if they just keep pushing you off, you just tell them, whatever's going on, I'm here for you. Whenever you're ready, I'm here for you. And, in a non-judgmental, non-stigma way, just let them know you can come back. I'll help you in any way I can. If you're still concerned because their behavior is just out of character and you just don't know what to do, going to a mutual friend or loved one, you may have to rally the troops. You may have to get someone on your side and let them know that you're really concerned. See if they're seeing the same thing. Find out if your concerns are valid or they're like, no, we're not seeing that. Maybe put your other friends or family members on alert to watch for it. And it may have to be something that you'll all have to come together to do. You may have to get parents or cousins or other loved ones involved to kind of address it. If it ever rises to the level where you're scared for their personal safety, like you're afraid that they will hurt themselves or hurt someone else if they have, if they've been confided in you that they're having suicidal thoughts or suicidal concerns, then you can call your local police department. You can you can request a welfare check. If that is in our city, if it's Mesquite, if it's over Mesquite, if who you're calling about lives in Mesquite, Balch Springs, Seagoville, or Sunnyvale, the care team is available. We will go out there and try and make contact with them also. If you call, the police non-emergency line and ask for a welfare check, you can also ask for the care team to be involved. You can, when the police go out there, they will contact them and they'll ask them some questions and see if they need to go to a psychiatric facility. If it's gotten to that point, right? That's in a very extreme situation. But going back to Tony's question is, just in general, if you're concerned about somebody, I think communicating your concern, communicating your worry, kind of taking stock in what's going on with them and see, is it situational? Do we need to rally the troops? Do we need more people involved and things like that? I think that's the best way, is just to hit it head on and see what needs to be done. That was a good question. Thank you. Any other questions? Concerns? All right. I think I want to thank everybody for coming tonight. I really appreciate it. I think there were some things in the chat. Sorry, my computer is not letting me see the chat right now, but I think I told Tony. We talked about there was going to be some handouts available. I will make sure I'll send those out by email. If you'd like, if you would like one of those handouts or you would like any more information, you know what, let me do this. I'm going to put my name and I'm put that PowerPoint back up there, and you can hopefully can see that. So that is my work cell phone number and my city email address. So feel free to reach out to that, call me or email me, and I will send you the information that you're asking for. Okay. All right. Thank you, everybody. If anybody needs anything, please don't hesitate to reach out.